welcome back to the Citizen channel. I hope you're all staying safe and well. And we have one of our little, what we call football first, this one, what we call today. And all it is basically the first time we played a team. And it's teams we played relatively late in our history and in their history as well. Perhaps teams that have been around for a long time, but we just haven't. They've always been in lower divisions or divisions apart, and we've not met them in many cup games, etc. So that's what we look at in this little moments in time in football first. We're going to go back to the 23rd of September 1992, a game I was at Main Road. And it's, of course, the first meeting between us and Bristol Rovers. Yes, we've not met Bristol City that many times, but Bristol Rovers even less. And considering they came in the league in 1883 as Black Arabs FC, that was the name then. It was changed in 1899 to Bristol Rovers, and they sort of joined the Football League, the Southern League, in 1920. So yeah, we're going to have a look back at our very first ever meeting, which, as I say, is 1992. So it's not bad. Over 100 years it took before we finally met them. So we're going to have a chat about that today and have a look back at the match and the match report from Mr. Paul Hince as well. We're going to have a look back at his match report on it. Please, if you are new to the channel and enjoy this, please push that subscribe button if you've not already done so. If you've already done so, keep spreading the word, guys. Much appreciated. Of course, push that bell notification on all these vlogs that are coming out. And he gives a thumbs up or a like. Make an old City fan very, very happy. It'd be much appreciated. Yes, so as I said, it's 23rd of September 1992, and it was the first leg. Yep, first leg. We didn't necessarily play our League Cup games away from home in the first legs like we would do now in the two-legged second round, which we used to up to. Well, obviously with COVID, it's been changed anyway. But in those days, if you were drawn out with a hat first, you played at home first back in 1992. So it's the Coca-Cola Cup second round first leg. Obviously, there would be a second leg to follow a couple of weeks later at Bristol Rovers ground. So yeah, it wasn't until this Coca-Cola Cup game we met competitively, but we had actually met in a friendly back in 1906 on the 24th of February, a 5-3 win for City at the Eastville Stadium, which was Rovers' home until 1986. Player manager Peter Reid. City were in the Premier League at the time. We sat 13th, but we just suffered 2 consecutive defeats at Main Road, both by 1-0 to Middlesbrough and Chelsea. So we needed to get back to winning ways. Norwich City were actually 4 points clear at the top of the table at that stage after 9 games. So, hey, 1992. Yeah, well, I don't have to say you eventually won it, do I? But obviously Norwich were top of the league at that stage. A guy called Dennis Rofe was the manager of Rovers, and they were struggling next to the bottom in the second tier of English football, which was called then Barclays League Division 1, so they still sponsored that. A mere formality, surely, for City in this one, the Premier League outfit. Well, we're talking City here, aren't we? So it wasn't going to be a mere formality. Of course it wasn't. I was there amongst a crowd of just 9,967. Yeah, the new Platt Lane was being built at the time, so we didn't, but there's still plenty of room, plenty of options. Obviously, the ground held a lot more than 9,967. There's quite a few Bristol Rovers fans there as well, so we were sort of rattling around Main Road that night. City's team that night was Creighton, Ian Brightwell, Terry Phelan. Peter Reid played. He didn't always play, did he? At that, he was sort of near to hanging his boots up, wasn't he? Keith Curl, Andy Hill, White, Davy White, Gary Flickcroft, Niall Quinn, Paul Simpson, and Rick Holden. Yeah, and the subs were David Brightwell and AD Mike, of course. And yeah, we're going to go over to Paul now. We're going over to Paul Hince for the match report on a pretty poor night, a pretty awful night, a 0-0 draw. Yeah, so we couldn't even manage to beat Bristol Rovers at home. So City 0, Bristol Rovers 0. So let's go over to Paul Hince to see what his views were of the game. He says, ailing Manchester City aren't dead and buried yet. No, we still had a second leg to go, didn't we? But today, hospital bulletin reports the patient's Coca-Cola Cup condition as perilous. A resilient and surprisingly skillful Bristol Rovers side got the result they came for and deserved in holding the Blues to a goalless draw in last night's second round tie. And after the wide open spaces of Main Road, the Premier League aristocrats are going to be in for a culture shock when they play the second leg in a fortnight at a cramped Twerton Park ground, which Rovers have on loan from Bath City. Yeah, I think we actually played against Bath at that ground as well in a friendly at Twerton Park. But obviously would have been the first time we went to Twerton Park and played there against Bristol Rovers. I think Tony Buck could have played there then, couldn't he? It was the home of Bath City, so it could have been Tony Buck's home ground as well. What the Blues needed, said Paul Hinds, was a cushion to take with them on their trip to the West Country on October the 7th. What they produced at a quarter-full Main Road was the same old story, all effort and no end product. Rovers boss Dennis Rofe was honest enough to concede that he had brought his players to Manchester with the strictly limited ambition of not conceding a goal in the opening leg. His team carried out these instructions to the letter with a grimly disciplined display, which often involved having 9 or 10 players behind the ball. Don't blame the visitors for that. Those would have been the exact tactics employed by City if the situation had been reversed. The fact remains that the Blues failed to break down lower division opponents who came with the worst defensive record in the Football League after conceding 20 goals in their first 8 games, and that could have well proved fatal. No one could fault Peter Reid's side for effort, and to be fair, the side could have been over as a contest. The Blues hadn't suddenly hit one of those patches where everything they touched in front of goal turned to dust. Rovers keeper Brian Parkin, who learned his trade at Boundary Park, rescued his side twice in the space of five first half minutes, with a brilliant fingertip save from a David White header and a brave stop from a point-blank shot from Niall Quinn, who looks understandably rusty on his return from suspension. The second half, if anything, was even more lopsided, and Rovers pitching their tents on the 18-yard line and refusing to budge. Crosses screamed over with monotonous regularity from Ricky Holden, with the hard-working Gary Flitcroft latching onto one centre to lash in a goal-bound thunderbolt, which almost decapitated the excellent Jeff Twentyman. And when Rovers' blanket defence was finally breached, fortune smiled on the minnows, with White's fierce low cross looping up off the boot of Ian Alexander to clatter the crossbar with the gallant Parkin groping fresh air. That was to be City's last chance to take the lead. They trooped off to a stony silence. At least we weren't booing them, that's one good thing, from the faithful few, and it was a few, while Rovers stayed on to be serenaded with Good Night Irene from their happy travelling army. Those same fans could be changing the words to Good Night Manchester City soon. Well, fortunately not, but I'll mention that briefly in a moment. The form guide, the players' ratings. I've noticed, like, when I do the player ratings now, and obviously people like Stuart Brennan and Simon BRISTOL, you can get the odd 2s, 3s and 4s dotted about. But in these days, they were quite fair. You did get the odd low mark, but I mean, we didn't play particularly well last night. All credit to Bristol Road this night. Last night, I wish it was. Gone back in time, know what I know now. The scores are always quite good. So I'll go through the player ratings from Paul Hinds. Paul Hinds is a nicer person, perhaps. That was probably what it is. Creighton got a 6. Ian Brightwell got a 7. Phelan got an 8. Reid got a 6. Curl got a 7. Hill got a 7. White and Flitcroft both got 7s. Quinn and Simpson both got 6s. And Holden got a 7. Man of the match, according to Paul Hinds, was Terry Phelan. Another classy display from City's dapper, there's a good word, little left back, who looks every inch a 2.5 million defender. So he's fairly new to the team at that stage. The referee was a certain Colin Trussell from Liverpool. Paul Hinds giving him 7 out of 10. Very, very kind indeed. And Peter Reid's view, what did Peter Reid think? Give Rovers credit, they came here to get this result and they made it very difficult for us. I have no complaints on the effort my players put into the game. The only criticism I have is that we are not creating enough chances at the moment, but when they do crop up, we are not putting them away. But with players like Niall Quinn and David White in the side, the goals will come sooner or later. We have made a difficult away leg even tougher by not scoring, but there is a long way to go yet. Well, there certainly was, I mean, full credit to Bristol Rovers. 2 weeks later when we did play, of course, at Twerton Park in the second leg, we took the lead, but then they pegged us back. So it was actually 1-1 at full time. And away goals did count, but only after extra time. So we had to play 30 minutes extra time. So at that stage, we were through because we'd scored the away goal. But obviously, it was a nervy 30 minutes. Were you there? I certainly wasn't there that night. If you were there, let me know. Give us your comments if you remember anything about it. Say, first time, of course, we played at Bristol Rovers at that ground, because we played the friendly at Eastville, back in 1906. So yeah, it was 1-1, but obviously a Rick Holding goal with seconds, just seconds left of the game, guaranteed, of course, a spot for us in the next round, and we actually went through 2-1 on the night and 2-1 on aggregate over the two games. Of course, we would lose to Spurs, but we knew we didn't have a trip to Wembley coming anytime soon in 1992-3, that was for sure. We'd lose to Spurs at Main Road in the next round. Rovers, of course, struggled themselves as well. They were second bottom as we played them in that first leg, and still sat there for the second leg, and they would get relegated at the end of the season in bottom place. Well, there you go. That's a little look back at our moments in time, it's football first, of course, and our first ever meeting. And a bit about the second meeting. I'm sure that second meeting will crop up one day. We've got a match report on that as well, but I'm sure we'll do that. Look at that one day, perhaps in the future. But thanks for joining me for this football first feature. Our first ever competitive meeting, Manchester City versus Bristol Rovers at Main Road, Wednesday the 23rd of September, 1992. A 0-0 thriller. It probably wasn't, but there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, until we meet again, let me know your memories. Were you there? Were you there that night? I mean, I don't remember much about it. I didn't go to the game, but I don't remember much. And did you go to, of course, the second leg? Oh, that would have been an interesting night. A very small ground, but very, very passionate. So it might have been interesting. Might have been a bit of. Not that there'd be any trouble. Not the 90s, it was sort of dying out a little bit, but I'm not too sure with Bristol Rovers. What sort of reputation they've got. Let me know anyway what you think. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Please, until we meet again, stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.